Ethan noticed it in small moments most people would overlook. The shadows under Myra's eyes that never fully disappeared. The way she paused in the middle of sentences, not because she was thinking, but because exhaustion tugged her thoughts away for a second. The stiffness in her shoulders when she lifted anything heavier than a kettle. The way she always checked the time, even when she wasn't in a hurry. People who had lived too long in survival mode always checked the time, but the realization didn't strike all at once. It formed slowly, like dawn rising behind mountains. He saw it when she came home one afternoon while he was helping Lila paint her school project. She smiled at them, but her body sagged in the doorway. Her uniform shirt was wrinkled, her hair coming loose, and her eyes, kind but weary, looked like they had been awake for far too many mornings in a row. Ethan watched her quietly. She put her bag down, rubbed her neck, and moved toward the sink automatically, like her body was following a routine it couldn't break. "Mama, Ethan helped me make a volcano." Lila announced proudly. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," Myra said, but she didn't come closer. She leaned against the counter, steadying herself. Ethan noticed her hands. They trembled. He said nothing that day, but the image planted itself deep in his mind. The truth hit him fully a week later, the evening he returned to their apartment unexpectedly. He knocked softly. No answer. The lights were off except for a dim lamp in Lila's room. Lila sat on the couch wrapped in a blanket, drawing. "Hey," Ethan said gently. "Where's your mom?" "She's working," Lila replied, not looking up from her paper. "It's late." "She works late," she said simply, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Ethan felt something tighten in his chest. "And after that job?" "She has another one in the morning," Lila said, coloring carefully. "But she says she's okay." The words were light. Casual. Practiced. Ethan stood there for a long moment, watching the little girl who had learned to accept loneliness the way some children accept homework. He walked over and sat beside her. "Do you get scared when she's gone?" he asked softly. Lila paused. Her crayon stopped moving a little, she whispered. "But Mama says I'm strong." Ethan swallowed hard. "You shouldn't have to be this strong," he said. She didn't reply when Myra came home later. She looked drained down to her bones. She smiled out of habit, not joy. She didn't see him at first. She only saw Lila, reached out, and hugged her tightly, breathing her in as if that alone kept her alive. When she finally saw Ethan sitting in the corner, her smile faltered. "You're here late." "I wanted to check on you both," he said gently. "I'm fine," she replied automatically, but her voice betrayed her, thin, strained, defeated. That was when he knew she wasn't fine. She hadn't been fine for a long time. The final piece of the puzzle fell into place the next evening, when he found her rubbing her temples at the small kitchen table, the dim lamp flickering as though even it was tired. A stack of unpaid bills lay scattered in front of her: electricity, gas, school fees, rent reminders. She stared at them as if they were written in a language she understood too well. Fear. The moment he saw her like that, something inside him shifted. He approached slowly. He didn't want to startle her. "Myra?" She looked up sharply, then relaxed when she saw it was him. "Oh. Ethan. I didn't hear you come in." "You're exhausted," he said softly. She exhaled a long, shaky breath. "I'm fine," she murmured again, but the words finally cracked. This time, they sounded like an apology. "No," Ethan said, pulling out a chair and sitting across from her. "You're not." Her eyes flickered with panic, as though she expected judgment or pity. She straightened her spine, fighting to appear composed. "I can handle it," she whispered. "I always have." He glanced at the bills. The worry etched on her forehead. The calluses on her fingers. The dark circles beneath her eyes. "Handling it isn't the same as living," he said. She blinked, surprised by the gentleness in his voice. Ethan leaned back slightly, trying to give her space. "How long have you been working 2 jobs?" "A while," she said quietly. "And you raise Lila alone? Pay for everything? Keep this home going?" He shook his head. "How do you do it?" Myra laughed, soft, humorless. "You don't get to ask that unless you've been hungry." The words weren't meant to hurt him, but they hit him all the same. She continued, more gently. "You wouldn't understand, Ethan. When you have a child, you don't think about being tired. You think about keeping them safe. Keeping a roof over their head. Making sure they don't go to bed feeling scared or hungry." Her voice wavered. "She deserves better." "She does," he agreed. "And so do you." Mira stiffened. Please don't offer me charity. He shook his head firmly. I'm not. She eyed him cautiously. Then what is this? A job, he said simply, her brows knitted together. A job? Yes. He nodded. A stable, well-paid job. One that lets you come home for dinner. One that lets you sleep. She stared at him as though he were speaking nonsense. Why me? He could have said anything, because you're kind, because you're hard-working, because your daughter is amazing, because you deserve a break, but instead he told her the truth, because you've carried a mountain alone for too long, he said softly. And I have the means to make it easier. Her eyes filled with something complicated: relief, guilt, hope, fear. What job would I even do? She whispered. A managerial role, he said. Community outreach for one of my companies. You know how to talk to people. You know struggle. You understand families who are hanging by a thread. We need someone like that. Someone real. She swallowed hard. I've never done anything like that before. You've done it your whole life, he replied. You just didn't get paid for it. Myra's lips parted, but no words came out. Her fingers trembled slightly, brushing the edges of the bills. What about Lila? She finally asked. You'll be home with her, he said, smiling gently. At normal hours. Mira closed her eyes, and 2 tears escaped, silent, unwilling, heavy. I don't know what to say, she breathed. Say yes, Ethan said quietly. Let me help without you feeling ashamed. She opened her eyes and looked at him for a long time. You're a good man, Ethan, she whispered. He shook his head. No. I'm trying to be one. She hesitated for a final moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, she said. I'll take it. The weight lifted from her shoulders so noticeably that Ethan felt his own chest loosen, as if her burdens had been pressing on him too. She covered her face with her hands, letting herself feel relief for the first time in years. When she lowered her hands, she looked younger. Softer. Human again. Ethan reached across the table and gently touched her hand. You're safe now, he said. Both of you. Mira didn't speak. She simply let out a shaky breath and whispered, thank you. That night, he left the apartment with a feeling he hadn't expected, not pride, not satisfaction, but something deeper. A sense of responsibility, a sense of belonging, a sense of family, and he knew, without question, that this was only the beginning. If you want, I can also write white heavy checkmark 5 photo prompts for this chapter or white heavy checkmark next chapter, 1500 to 1800 words, just say the word.